Hey, CK here with another Automation Monday. This one is a little bit complicated, but we're going to walk through it pretty quickly because I think you'll see that once you get into it, it's actually pretty straightforward, and there are a lot of steps that simply repeat with a little bit different parameters each time. What this macro does is take a finished track, just that chunk of a Logic project, and then copy that chunk of time out however many times you like. I use 6 to create the structure for alternative mixes. So if you work in film and TV music, a lot of times, most of the time, you're asked to create alternative mixes of your finished track. That might be without drums, drums and bass only, no lead, rhythm section only, and so forth. And so just having it laid out and ready to work on is a big help. Plus, I use markers to name each of these alternatives. And then I have another macro that I'll also show you that bounces those out, renders them out to their own audio files using the name of the marker as the resulting file name. So it's really, really handy. So let's take a look at how it works. So here we are in Keyboard Maestro, and the first thing you notice is all these guys that I have colored yellow. Those are pauses. Ideally, you want to wait for some specific thing that happens in the software that defines, oh, cool, we're ready to move on. But if there's nothing like that to grab onto, to watch for in the software, you would just use a simple pause for a length of time. Let's not talk about that anymore. Except, I'll tell you at the end what I got coming up. First thing I do is just make sure there's nothing selected in Logic, just so it doesn't throw off the definition of any time regions. Then I display a little window that reminds me what I need to do to set up. And you saw me do that at the beginning of the demonstration of this macro, where I created a marker at the beginning and named it in, and I created a marker at the end of the song, the track, including accommodating any audio tail, like reverb or something at the end, and then created a marker called out. So I just needed to set that up, and then I dragged the first marker, the in marker, up to the cycle bar to define that as the cycle bar. All right, cool. So that's all done. Then I just hit return to rewind to the beginning of the project. It might not even be necessary, but I just do it. I pause. Then I have a smarter pause. I pause until the menu command to rename a marker is available. And once it is available, I choose it. So that selects the current marker. I pause momentarily, and then I change the marker's name to full, because basically that's the first version that I'm working with, is the full version of the track. So I have Keyboard Maestro type full and then a return character to rename the marker and confirm that. And then the next thing I do is I wait for the go to right locator command to become available, so that I can move the playhead over there. And when it's available, I choose it. Then I wait again for that same menu command to become available, just so that I know Logic is done executing it. Just a little thing. Then I use the keyboard shortcut to move the playhead forward another 8 measures. Now, the reason I do that is to give myself about 8 measures of buffer after the true end of the song, so that I have that space in between each of the alternate mixes. And then I set the cycle bar's end to the playhead position. So now I've just redefined where the cycle bar ends, putting it out that 8 measures, okay? And why that's significant is that Logic has a great set of time-based operations that you can use. One is repeat section between locators. So now I've defined this area that starts at the beginning of the track and ends 8 measures after the end of the track, and I've defined it using the cycle bar. Now I'm going to hit repeat. I'm going to use this command to repeat that chunk of music 6 times to give me a bunch of copies that I can turn into alternative mixes. It chooses the command, waits for it to be available again 6 times to give me those 6 copies, okay? Then I use that rename marker command again to select the second marker, and I rename it to no drum. I tab through its out, its end marker, and again, tab again to get to the next alt marker, and I rename it. So this cycle just keeps continuing. And when it finally finishes that, it just displays that large text for me saying that we're done, like that. Okay? So that sounds like a lot, but boy, it sure is better than doing it by hand. And what I end up with then is the whole track. And this is a really simple project just to use as an example, but I end up with all these copies of the completed song plus an 8-measure buffer already named. And like I said, I have a follow-up macro that will cycle through each one of these and bounce just this part of it and use the marker name as the suffix of the resulting file name. So now I promised to tell you what I've got coming up. In a couple weeks, I'll skip Automation Monday because I'll be on vacation. However, right before that, I will release a new class on Skillshare, and it's actually all about pauses, all the different pause types that are available in Keyboard Maestro to allow you to make your macros just pretty much instantly more stable and reliable. You can't press a button that's not there. You can't choose a menu item that doesn't exist yet. And knowing how to put intelligent pauses in your automations goes a really long way toward making them more stable and more reliable, more robust, and all those buzzwordy terms that we like to use. All right, cool. I hope this has been helpful. Cheers.